Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. Also yesterday I know that I forgot a very important detail, and it's touched upon more in today. This is about when Xander found something suspicious about some sort of money being moved by Philip. This happened yesterday. Sorry I forgot that detail. I did the review twice, and the second time I did it, I just kind of left that part out by accident. But today they really touch upon it, and of course, here's the thing, Xander. So he found something that was suspicious. Rather than sit there investigating it further to kind of see what it's more about, it's like he saw something that was funny, didn't really get too much into it, and decided to tattletale to Victor. So he calls up Victor, and first Victor's like, yo, listen, what did I tell you about this nonsense? But then Xander sits there and tries to explain his case that there's something that's funky that's going on. Victor's like, let's not take a look at it. Victor calls up Philip, and Philip's like, I can explain. It's, about some sort of secret project or whatever. He explains it away, and because Xander didn't actually find out what it was very easy for Philip to explain it away. And of course, at this point, Victor's back on Philip's side. And of course, after the phone call, Philip calls, or he gets a call. I don't know who called who, but he's sitting there talking to some other guy or some other person on the line, sitting there saying, Xander's getting pretty close. I was able to explain it away, but we got to kind of move on whatever this is fast. Then he throws the phone, and that's when Sarah comes back in from, I guess, the kitchen or whatever, because she was there talking to Philip the first time, and the second time when he threw the phone, Sarah was like, "What's going on?" Philip tries to explain it away, and Sarah's like, listen, this is why you have a key, another CEO or whatever with you. And that's when Philip walks away. Long story short, Xander does come back home, and they start talking for a little bit. He goes in the kitchen. He's like, he's like, just like Philip is up to something. I don't know what it is yet, but he's up to something. And he walks away. Sarah's like, he is up to something. And I'm sitting there thinking, because up until this point, she's been just, she's just been being a pretty terrible girlfriend, taking Philip's side and, spending time with a man that damn well Xander doesn't like. But I think she's starting to smarten up a little bit. So maybe she, I was going to sit there and say, maybe she's not the terrible girlfriend that she is making herself out to be, but still, whatever, I'm not going to really get into that. Point is, she's starting to smarten up to Philip's actions, and I guess we'll just wait and see what happens with that. Back at Titan, not Philip, Xander is once again giving Charlie some sound advice, Charlie comes back and he's all upset. He's like, she's kissing somebody else and blah, blah, blah. And I'm mad and I should give up. And, Xander's like, listen, she's a pretty girl. She's going to be getting a lot of guys after her. You got to sit there and make sure that you stand out. So, he talks to Charlie. He gives him some sound advice once again. He's like, you know what? Play the long game. Let her come to you. And he walks out the door. He's like, you got this. Now, we're going to get into my issue that I'm starting to have with, you know what, it's better if I just kind of explain it. Claire's not there kissing Theo. Theo, backs off. They start talking, and she's all like, we should give it another try, this, that, and the third. And then that's when Theo's like, listen, I'm seeing someone. So they get into a conversation about Charlie. She's like, I'm very apprehensive because of, my past, and I screwed up stuff up with a lot of people, and yada, yada, yada. And she's just gun shy. But Theo's like, listen, you never know until you try. You're a good person, and he gives her that hopes and dreams speech. And, at this point, she decides to surprise Charlie by, bringing him, some lunch and a smoothie and everything like that. And Charlie, I'm not gonna lie. So yesterday I was sitting there saying that, Charlie had that, that evil eye look when he saw them. And now today, they kind of revisit that, and he looks like he's upset, but he looks like he's like hurt and like shocked or whatever. It's not really so much of an evil eye look. I don't know what they did, but I'm not gonna lie, I know what I saw when I saw it the first time, but anyway, she surprises him, with this movie and everything like that, and Charlie acts like a dick. Okay, there's no way around me not saying, like, he literally is just, like, very, like, cold shoulder and, like, brushes her off, and, Claire just has that look like, okay, like, what did I just walk into? And I'm not gonna lie, it really shocked the hell out of me, because not that long ago, he was sitting there whining and crying about how he couldn't get her attention, and some guy, like, is with her, and, like, what do I do, and this, that, and the third, and I'm like, does this guy have split personalities or something? Because when he sees her come to him, he's just, like, standoffish. And then he pretty much kind of, like, dismisses her, like, oh, well, I got a lot of work to do, and, another time or whatever. And at this point, and now I'm just like, alright, I don't generally do this whole, what they call, shipping people and stuff like that. But I wanted to see where this was going to go, and if for nothing else, to sit there and find out more about Charlie and why they're just introducing this guy. And after this point, I'm just like, well, this guy is a dick. Here's the thing about Claire. I don't really have a feeling towards her one way or the other. Like, I don't really care about her character too much, She seems very vapid, She seems very vapid. So I don't really care about her one way or the other. I don't really have a use for her. But with that being said, damn. As much as I don't have a use for her, it was rough watching him treat her that way. I don't even like this character that much. So at this point, I'm just like, you know what? I don't know what is going on with them. I'm so not invested anymore. I know he's going to find some sort of way to try to smooth it over, and Claire's just going to sit there and give him another chance, because why not? But whatever sort of second or third date or whatever they do, I don't know if I'm going to care at that point. Like, maybe I'm a person that's just built on first impressions, and that first impression was just like, you're a dick, and I don't really care anymore. Yeah, and that's what I'm going to say about that. Chad, Chad just comes across as a person that I was never really too fond of. I didn't hate this character, but he did come across as someone that was, like, very privileged, kind of, like, looked down upon people to some extent. Like, he didn't do that with Gwen the first time he saw her. So I was like, okay, maybe he's okay. But with Jake, he was all like, oh, he's uncivilized, this, that, and third. And I was like, wow. Coming across as very snobbish. I'm not really liking your character so much. So he's sitting there talking with Kate after Kate snuck out, Jake. And he starts laying into Kate like, oh, well, you shouldn't have slept with her. You shouldn't have slept with her father, this, that, and the third, and yada, yada, yada. Just giving her the riot act. And I'm like, it's amazing that you could sit there and judge somebody else on their life choices when you didn't even know them at the time. Like, you didn't know this woman. You didn't know what her story was. You didn't know her hardships, her struggles, and stuff like that. And for you to sit there and come out your mouth and talk about, oh, you shouldn't have did this, that, and the third, I'm like, I'm sorry, sweetheart, you didn't live her life. You was in her shoes, and you want to sit there and start judging her? Are you kidding me? Like, really? And then, he does this whole, and listen, I get it, that's your wife, you gotta protect her, this, that, and the third. But, when Kate was like, listen, she shouldn't have came in my room, she looked through my stuff, and it was none of her business. And she blurted all that stuff out to the party, and, like, that's on her. And Chad was just, like, defending her to the moon. And here's the thing. When you're with somebody, yeah, I get it, you have this inkling to sit there and protect them. But that doesn't mean you should sit there and be blind to the stuff that they do. You have to be able to call them out on their crap. Otherwise, you're not being true to yourself. So, the fact that, he just kept protecting her over the dumb, stupid choices that she made that night, and she did make them, was just like, I'm not really that much of a fan of Chad. Of course, when, after Chad is gone, Kate finds, she decides to sneak out, Kate decides to sneak out, Jake's jacket. So she's walking out the hallway. You got Gwen just lurking around, just literally just lurking around like a creep. And I'm just like, well, I guess they had to make somebody the villain of this story. So, all I can sit there and say about Gwen is that I hope that they do better for Gwen than they did for, Nell. That's really, I gotta sit there and say. I really do. I really hope they don't pull a Nell treatment on her, because once was enough. Let's see. Let's go with Gwen and Abby, because at this point, I just don't have any use for Abby. I really don't. I have no use for Abby. She slipped there, and granted, yeah, she realized her mistakes, and she's like, I shouldn't have did this. I should have, handled it a different way. I don't know what I was thinking. So in one part, I want to sit there and say, you know what, at least she owned up to her mistakes. She realized what she was doing was wrong. She realized that she blew up her family's life apart. And she could have handled it a different way than the way she chose to handle it. On that surface level, that's great. Because we all make mistakes. But if we don't learn from them and call ourselves out on it, then we're not doing ourselves any favor. So in that instance, that's a point for her. That is great. Because I know that I was really going at her yesterday. So that's great that she called out her mistakes. On the other hand, I'm still not a fan of her because of the stuff that she did. I'm glad that she called, she accepted it. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of those type of people that I just say I kind of hold on to grudges, and seeing her act like a jackass at that party, and granted, she made up for it, I'm still not exactly on the forgiving side of her. So, when she's sitting there talking to Gwen, and Gwen is like, it's not your fault, this, that, and the third, and yada, 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 I'm still just like, you know what? You deserve everything that Gwen is giving you. I don't feel that bad for her, okay? I only feel 5% bad for her. And that's coming from a person that holds his grudges. And so, anyway, what else is going on? We got, so after Gwen leaves, Abigail's sitting there talking to Jake. And Jake is like, yo, listen, how did you find that letter? You need to be careful for Gwen. And what does Abigail does? Abigail defends Gwen because she's, she's dumb and naive. There's just no other way around it. She's just dumb and naive. And so she defends her. I'm sitting there like, Well, I guess we was able to make progress for like 5 minutes, so I guess we'll give her something. Um, Now she's all hungover and everything like that, and she passes out, um, on Jake. Well, she passes out like on Jake's like lap or whatever. So now Jake is not there, like stroking her hair and putting a blanket over her. And on one hand, I'm like, that's really nice. Jake is a stand-up guy. That's awesome. That's actually a really nice scene. On the other hand, I'm just kind of sitting there looking like, bro, like, I get what you're doing, but, optic-wise, you doing too much. Like, you doing a little bit too much. Like, that whole look of her on your lap, you putting a blanket over her, stroking her hair, it ain't looking good. Alright? It ain't looking good. And, of course, when, Gwen points, Chad downstairs because Gwen is being Gwen, Chad comes downstairs and Chad just like, he's like, are you serious? At this point, I'm like, bro, you know what? Jacob's like, I can explain. Go. I want to hear this one too. Let's see how you're going to get yourself out of this one. Because I understand, what his intent was. But optic-wise, I want to see how he's going to get himself out of this one. This should be good. I'm actually looking forward to his explanation tomorrow. And yes, with that being said, I kind of want to make sure I didn't really miss too much of anything. If I did, I apologize. I felt like I kind of got most of the details out. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this episode. Write it down in the comment section below. Be safe. All that good stuff. I will catch you in the next review.